Hi, everyone. Thank you for your attention. My name is Mike Funk. I am the city manager here at the City of Minnetonka. Welcome to the 2025 State of the City. I am the bookends of today's session, so I'm going to turn this over to the mayor here in just a second. But before I do, just want to talk a little bit about what about today's program. When I prompted you here a few minutes ago, why does Minnetonka matter? And I think in today's world, a lot of things happening. One thing that's really drawn, I think, a lot of us to our city, a lot of us to what we do in the city, our passion for the community is Minnetonka Matters. And just a short story about myself. I moved to the city in 2009 with my family. Love Minnetonka for probably a lot of the same things that you do. The parks, trails, and I see heads nodding. The school system. I had 2 children graduate from Hopkins High Schools. We have 2 great school systems in our city. The natural beauty, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's why I moved here in 2009. I've been a resident for 15 years. Love every minute of it. Love this city. I work with a great mayor and a great council. We have wonderful staff, and they've heard me say repeatedly how much I care about this city and working with great people to make sure you enjoy our city as well. But it's not about me, it's not about our mayor, it's not about our council, it's much greater than that. And that's what we really kind of want to showcase today is why Minnetonka matters. Now I fast forward to 2019, that's when I started with the city. So I've been with the city about 5.5 years, and so contextually, why Minnetonka matters changed a little bit because now working for this city, I have an opportunity to really be able to be part of public service, being part of not only a great city for why I moved here, but I have the distinct honor of not only living here, but working here and working with some great team members. And you're going to hear from some of those folks today because really a lot of you see the nuts and bolts of what we do from snow plowing. Sometimes you see our fire trucks, you see our police squad cars out there, but there's so much more that we do that hopefully impacts your lives, impacts the way you feel about your city and our city, and that's what we're going to showcase here today. The word cloud. Can you put up the word cloud? So thanks for participating on that. Thank you, Andrew. So thank you. So 55 responses, so thank you. So let's see, I didn't look at that, but I think some of the things I said about what Minnetonka matters to me is up here. Trails, people, natural beauty, great community, quality of life, wetlands, great senior services. That resonates with everyone, doesn't it? So we're going to learn a little bit more about that today. The other thing I'll just mention to you, because I can't stop when I have a microphone, those that know me, I will say this, our strategic plan. And so what you see behind us, or behind me, is our 6 pillars in the city's strategic plan. This is what's important to Minnetonka. Safe and healthy community, livable and well-planned development, community inclusiveness, sustainability, infrastructure and asset management, financial strength. Those are a bedrock of what's important to me as your city manager, to our mayor and our council, and what's important to you. We have a whole depth of work and body work behind this. Here's our plug for our website. So go to our website. We track this, we monitor it, we have performance metrics, and then I'll stop there on our strategic plan, because today's not about the strategic plan, it's about the services that we provide and some of that great outlook and some of the things that you don't normally see on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I'm going to invite up the mayor. So Mayor Brad Wiersum, please come on up. Round of applause. Thank you, Mayor. Today's format's a little bit of a fireside chat. So Mayor, if you want to have a seat, I'll sit by you for a minute. We're going to play a video here, but before we play the video, I just want to introduce the mayor. For those that don't know, Mayor Wiersum has had a long, storied career. Do we call it a career?
I'm not sure storied is the right word.
Mayor Wiersum has been mayor for 7.5 years, so he's nearing the end of his second term. And then prior to that, serving 15 years on the council. And really that's important leadership. And I think that really signifies also Minnetonka. And I go back to what I said here a few minutes ago moved here 15 years ago. And for me, working in government in my career, Minnetonka is a hallmark community. And I know you know that. But this is a pinnacle community for reasons like Mr. Wiersum and our mayor and our council who cared passionately about our community. So with that, Mayor Wiersum, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to you introducing our staff. And before we do that, we're going to play a short video.
Minnetonka matters to us because this is where we want to raise our kids, and the schools are so great, and we're just really excited to be a part of it.
The just level of events is so great, not just for kids, but adults and grandparent ages, that it's just every weekend overwhelming to say, where should we go?
I just like Minnetonka because it's a town in the middle of the cities, and it's got all these nice little neighborhoods, and it's a real community-oriented town with, it's got woods, it's got wildlife, it's got the lake, it's got everything in it. And the people in the town just are all committed to each other.
The city staff, I mean, they're accessible to the residents. Like, I myself have gone through parks where they get the residents together and talk about this area. It's overgrown, so it needs to be cleared, and we're gonna plant all these natural native plants around here. I walked by the same park a few months later, and you can see all this work being done. And the residents around, they already know. So it's very cool that how the staff is so diligent about working with the residents.
I think everything we do on the council drives us to ensure that people in Minnetonka feel welcome, they have an opportunity for success, and the city continues to thrive and grow.
My husband and I moved down here about 1.5 years ago to be closer to our kids and grandkids, and we really enjoy the city. People are very friendly and gotten a lot of help from the city employees when I needed it.
Minnetonka matters to me because I live in a safe, quiet neighborhood where all my neighbors know each other and we help each other out.
Cities are only as good as the people that live, play, study, and work in them. And I think it's really important to make sure that we continue to be a place that attracts people to live here from every demographic and just be the welcoming community that we are, and become a more welcoming community.
Public Works Department over the past years have done an amazing job plowing the snow. I grew up in Rochester, and I was used to having excellent clean streets after a snowfall like today, and Public Works does a fantastic job. We're very excited. You know, great city government too.
I moved to Minnetonka with our family 35 years ago. We've stayed in Minnetonka because I love the environmental focus and preservation of the air and water that we care about.
We love our small businesses and we want to see them thrive, and diversity of small businesses and small business owners only makes the city stronger.
Minnetonka, it's a nice area where I can find friendly people, community where also welcomes you, especially like Hispanic people, you know, and also I get engaged with like a lot of customers that matters to me that their sons, they're speaking Spanish, so culture.
We've got 2 young kids, and we're just so happy that Minnetonka has lots of parks and playgrounds and spaces for us to raise our kids.
Minnetonka matters to me because 5 generations of my family have had the great good fortune to live in this community since 1912. So it's an honor and really a privilege to be on a city council and continue the work of previous councils who have done so much to constantly make our community better, to make it safer, to make it more sustainable.
It has been a wonderful place to raise kids. The schools are excellent. Everything you need is just within a short distance.
Thank you. Well, thank you for watching that. Mayor Wersom, what a great crowd. We're standing room only, and I look forward to you interviewing some of our staff and for our staff and for the room to get to know a little bit more about what we do here at the city. So with that, please join me in a warm welcome, Mayor Wersom.
Well, thank you, Mike. And we've got some staff members coming up, and I don't have opening remarks. I get to talk to some of our employees and who provide all the services that you all get. So I'm going to start with Justin Johnson, and then I'll have a few comments at the very end. But Justin, you're a police officer with the City of Minnetonka, as we can see. Tell us about first of all, how long have you been a police officer here?
I've been a police officer in Minnetonka for about a year now. Started off as a cadet, which is a very, very great program, and it helped me get into Minnetonka and learn the community before I actually got into the force.
Excellent. And in this day and age, policing has been a challenge. And why did you want to become a police officer?
Growing up, as a former athlete, I was around the police a lot. And with that, I was able to foster incredible relationships from top to bottom. It really turned into me being a part of what they do as well as a part of what they do. And then it really transitioned into for me to become the person that I wanted to be as far as like service, integrity, all the same things that we have like in the sports.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I also understand that your current role involves patrol. So tell me a little bit about that and what do you like about that?
For me, patrol is really good because you get to meet people like sometimes when they're worse. But when you approach things with integrity and build relationships throughout the community, you really get to give the best customer service you can give in the world. So for me, I approach every situation with that, knowing that like you're coming in certain situations when people are like not at their best. But you could leave that situation, turning the whole thing around and creating a really good outcome in the end.
Excellent. Sounds great. And I also know that you have a passion for working with youth and that you're involved in the schools. So tell me about some of your interactions with young people.
For me, I think it starts with the youth. That's what is next for us. When you work on the youth and you focus on the youth, it predicts a better tomorrow. So, I'm the oldest of 8, so I've always been a leader.
Whether you wanted to be or not.
Yeah, right about that. So, I feel like focusing on the youth is going to help us moving forward. And, a lot of times right now is the police versus the internet. And if you can get in front of kids and help them get a better perspective and they can know you by a first name basis, it really could change the outcome of how they look at the police moving forward.
Sounds great. So tell me a little bit more about your work in the schools and some of your interactions with students.
I'm big on talking, as you can tell. I like to go sit and I like to go talk, whether it's shooting basketball or, kind of just stopping out with kids on bikes. Personally, I like to go into school and just eat lunch because my favorite thing is to eat. That's what I like to do. So why not meet them where they're at? Come talk and let them know you. I'm a person just like you are. My name is Justin. You don't have to call me officer right now. My name is Justin. So it's been good for me to do it that way.
Well, Julie was very clear that I was not supposed to call you officer. So Justin, thank you for being here. And one of the little unknown facts, you say you're a former athlete. You're an athlete. You're once an athlete, always an athlete. But Justin played professional football for the Carolina Panthers. And we're lucky to have him here. And so thank you for that. So lastly, and we've got just a few seconds, why is what you do important to you and to Minnetonka?
For me, I feel like everyone matters, everyone included. And I feel like Minnetonka has built a really good community around that. coming from, I'm originally from Alabama, so Minnetonka reminds me a lot of home, and I've been able to fit in here in the perfect way, as well as bringing my family up here. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I've spent a little time in Alabama, and I think there is a lot in common. But welcome and thank you. And I'm not supposed to say thank you. I know, Julie. Okay. So I'm going to pivot now. Great, Justin. I'm going to talk to Melanie Putz, and so I'm going to ask you the same question. How long have you been with the city?
Yes, I just passed my 8-year mark here at the city.
All right, and tell us about your job with the city. I understand it's important, but tell me about it.
Yes, so as the city assessor, we are tasked to value every property in the city on an annual basis.
Wow, every property. How many properties are there?
Over 20,000.
Wow, every one, every year. So why is your job important, and what kind of impact does it have on the city?
Yes, so the values that we set every year impact the property taxes. So it's very important, and that value is the portion of the taxes that you're going to be responsible for as a property owner of the total amount the city needs to collect.
Okay, so we've got over 20,000 properties, and do you visit them? I mean, if you're valuing them every year, do you visit each property every year? How does that work?
Yes, so we don't need to visit every year, every property, but we are required by law to visit them at least once every 5 years. And as things occur, like permit work, maybe you're doing a big addition or a demolition, at that point you'd also hear from our office because we'd want to take a look at the work being done then.
Okay, so, we as council members hear a little bit from residents about taxes and things like that. Not that people care, but, I hear that assessors really want to increase the value of properties. Is that true? And whose side are you on?
So we hear that a lot too, but really we're a neutral party. So what we do in determining our value is we're looking at market data every year, and we're looking at all the sales that occur within the city and seeing how those compare to our values, and then adjusting our values up or down sometimes to see what reflects the current market. So we're really neutral.
Great. Well, Melanie, I believe that. And so, but why is your work important to the city? And then the follow-up is, tell us why Minnetonka matters to you.
Yes, so it's important to the city because those property taxes that do need to be collected for the city provide for all the services that you'll hear about today from many of my coworkers. So that's a very important piece of the puzzle. And then for me personally, as an assessor, I value working here in a local community and really getting to know the area. We know the Minnetonka market very well. We know our neighborhoods, we know our properties, and our staff takes pride in that knowledge.
Great. Very interesting. I'm going to save my thanks for later and pivot over to Jace Alexander. And Jace, the softball question to start is, how long have you worked for the city?
Sure, it'll be 2 years in June.
Okay, great. And last year you were in the middle of a key event. The city hosted the Sounds of Blackness, and it was you who really made that happen. It was very successful. So tell me a little bit about that, and then I've got a few follow-up questions on that.
Sure, I think that was that was our inaugural Black History Month event, and so as someone who didn't have a lot to do with government before this role, I was a teacher beforehand. I kind of wanted to think about what's something that I would show up to in my community, and so taking it from that angle.
Great, and then how did you think? I mean, you partially answered that, but how did you think of organizing that event for Minnetonka?
Yeah, well, our city manager talks about our strategic profile and excellence quite a bit. And so I was feeling that pressure. And so I'm like, what can I do if it's the first one? It's got to be excellent. Let's bring in a Grammy Award-winning group. Let's just shoot for the moon. And so that's kind of how I got my inspiration to do that.
Well, awesome. And then tell us, we believe that you should have fun at work. What was the most fun aspect of getting this thing together?
The most fun part about this was everyone that helped me, and that speaks to the staff and just the community at large. I mean, our head of community development was helping me check names off of the list as people came in. Thank you, Julie. Jeff Dulac in IT brought lights. That wasn't even part of the plan. He just did the extra thing. Rec helped me with the survey. Public Works helped me with the trash and figuring all of that out. So like everyone really came together to help put this on, and so that was the most fun part for me.
Awesome. And I'm going to combine the last two parts of this segment of my interview with you is, what was your purpose and how did it turn out?
Sure. My purpose was to bring folks together in community and to celebrate and be in proximity. And so celebrating Black History Month for that specific month, Black food, Black culture, and sharing it with everybody.
Great. And so my next question, I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, but DEI has been in the news lately. The name of your title is Senior DEI Coordinator. What are the top 3 things that you want to do with that role?
Yeah, I think the top 3 things for me are connection is key. We try to make data-informed decisions on everything that I'm doing, and making sure that I'm leading with empathy has been a really big piece for me.
Awesome. And then, what other new things are you doing to attract people to our community and involvement in our community?
Yeah, like I said, connection is key. So I work with every single department, and they've all been amazing in working with our relatively new DEI commission and just helping them understand how the city functions and trying to work with them and the communications team to get to everybody.
Awesome. And my last question is this, and it ties to the perception that people have about Minnetonka. People think that we're a bunch of rich people who all live on the lake, and we know that there are some rich people who live on the lake, but most of us don't. And there's also that perception that Minnetonka may be a place that's not attainable for everyone. Just explain how you feel that the city is attainable and how the city is inclusive to a broad spectrum of people.
Sure. I think it's fair to say Minnetonka, like several cities throughout our history, wasn't really welcoming to everybody. But we've come so far since then with all the work that's being done. And I think it definitely is attainable. And we see that with the things that are going on in housing and the work that we're doing with police and the internships and programs that we have and all the outreach that we try to do. And so I think if we can just stay curious about things and folks that we don't know, I think it just will continue to enhance our community. And as many places are starting to fall back from inclusive work, Minnetonka's only continuing to push forward.
Great. Awesome. Good to hear from you. And now I'll switch over here. And next up is Josh Obermeyer. And Josh is our city forester. So again, first of all, how long have you worked for the city, and what was your first job in the city?
I started as a forestry technician 7.5 years ago, and I was just promoted to city forester this last Friday.
Well, congratulations, and that's really cool. But what the heck does a city forester do?
Yeah, so I love my job. Every day is a little different, and that's one of the reasons why I really like it. On a day-to-day basis, I'm working with our tree inspectors to make sure they're completing projects in the field. I might be talking to one of the managers or supervisors on planning, problem solving. We get a lot of technical questions from residents, might be helping them with a complicated disease question. We work on contracts, budget. It's really important to city leadership that we're on budget and using taxpayer dollars.
I care about that a little, but keep going.
Wisely. Yeah, and I appreciate that too. And finally, as a forester, you do get to get out in the field a little bit. So I might be in a park doing a planting plan, doing a risk tree analysis along a roadway, or planning a forest restoration project.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about your interactions with residents.
Yeah, so we do get a lot of technical questions. People feel confused when it comes to tree work on their property. The pricing can be really confusing, and we're able to offer an unbiased perspective to residents and help them make good decisions on their property.
Good. Now, this next question is relevant, I'm afraid, to virtually all of us, but are we as a city 100% infested with emerald ash borer?
We are. We are generally infested with emerald ash borer. any tree in the city that hasn't been injected with an insecticide has some level of emerald ash borer infestation. We're basically in the peak phase of the infestation right now. As a city, we're going to be doing a lot of heavy tree removal along our streets and trails for at least the next 5 years. I'd say for our property owners, they're going to be dealing with this for at least the next 10 years.
Wow.
I'll say on the positive side, our canopy cover in Minnetonka is 60%. The metro average is 27%. So in these forested areas where we're losing a lot of these ash trees, they're going to recover well because the trees where that light gap forms, there's going to be other trees growing up in their place.
Good. Well, that's important to me because as you saw in the word cloud, our tree canopy is important to our residents. So, do you think your work has an impact on the city and why?
I do. Right now, we have our relief grant program. It's a $338,000 grant we received from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. This emerald ash borer infestation is financially straining a lot of property owners, and this grant is specifically to help private property owners remove infested ash trees on their property.
Great. Last question is, why does that matter to Minnetonka, and why does it matter to you?
Yeah, I think there's a really high quality of life in this city. I appreciate that. Natural resources are part of our brand. It's one of the main reasons why people live here. I think that adds to our quality of life, and it's exciting to be a city forester in a community like this.
Awesome. Good to hear from you, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. I'm not making people dizzy by switching back and forth like this. I might be getting a little dizzy, but next we get to talk to Kendall Larson, who is a housing coordinator. And Kendall, I know you're pretty new in the city. Tell us, how long have you been here?
Yes, I've been here for a little over 2 years.
Very good. Yeah. Hope you like it.
I do.
A little known fact about Minnetonka is there are people who do not have housing in our community. Again, there's that perception that we're this well-to-do community. But tell me about that. Are there really people who are unhoused in the city of Minnetonka?
Yes, there are. And I think there is that misconception that especially, with homelessness and people having housing crises, that those don't happen very often in suburban communities. But that isn't the case. Anywhere there's housing, there's going to be people experiencing housing crises, no matter at any level that is, losing their home or just needing some assistance to get work done. And so, we want to be there to be able to support people with any of their housing crisis needs. Last year, our program that we have assisted 84 people in their housing crisis.
Well, your job is to help people with their housing, and some people do lose their housing. We have people who there are evictions that happen in our community when people can't pay their rent and so forth. So how do you get them help?
Yeah, so as I said, we have a homeless assistance program, and we work in collaboration with a local nonprofit, His House Foundation, who provides resources and casework and assistance, including getting people into temporary housing when they need that. Temporary housing can look like being in a hotel room for a couple days to get stabilized and get kind of through a system and get casework done and get resources, or it can even be getting them a campsite where they can hook up to facilities that they need. It's just important that we get them the resources, start helping them stabilize, and eventually help them get into permanent housing is the end goal.
It sounds like, try it again. Is it working?
Here, do you want to take Rachel's?
We'll stay nimble here. It sounds like your job requires quite a bit of creativity. And one of the things that I've both seen as I've driven around Minnetonka, and I've also heard from residents, is from time to time we see people standing on street corners who seem like they don't have secure housing. And one question I have is that our problem? And then a follow-up is, why is it important to assist those people, and how should we do it?
Yeah, so I think it is our problem to assist those people, especially locally, because we have resources for them and programming for them. But in addition, the county has a lot of incredible work and resources going on with homelessness specifically. But they serve a large area, and there are a lot of people that need those resources. In addition, the shelters where people can get into the system for the county are in and around Minneapolis, so it makes it hard for suburban residents who need to get that to go downtown. And we do see, a lot of families with children come through the program that we have, and it's hard for them to remove their children from the school system and remove them from their schools to be able to go to a shelter downtown. So that's really why it's important for us to have this resource to be able to help them here, get them into temporary housing if they need it, and hopefully get them permanent housing here in the community.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm going to wrap up with one quick question. I know we're a little tight on time, but what do you want residents to know about the work you do and why it matters to Minnetonka?
Yeah, most definitely. I think housing stability is important. No matter who you are, everyone deserves to have a safe, stable, and affordable place to live. And the city's resources, housing programs are here to assist people no matter what their housing concerns are.
Great. Thank you for your story. So I'm going to switch gears. And the topic that Kendall just shared with us is a little heavy, but the next one's even heavier. So Rachel Daniels is a victim and witness liaison. And so first I'll start with my softball question. How long have you been with the city?
Yes,
Yep. Roving mics. Well, there we are.
Can you hear me? Okay. So it'll be 4 years in May that I've been with the city of Minnetonka.
Good. And I don't even know what a victim and witness liaison does. Could you please tell us about what it is you really do?
So if you are the victim of a crime in the city of Minnetonka, you will be hearing from me. So my job is to make sure that victims know what their rights are, as well as helping them navigate through what can be a very confusing criminal justice system, especially if you're not familiar with it, and most people aren't. So from the time that a defendant is charged out to sentencing, I'm making sure that the victims are included throughout the whole entire process. I'm also making sure that they have a right to request restitution. And restitution is any out-of-pocket fees that a victim may have in regards to a crime. And they have a right to request to be reimbursed for that, as well as I help victims write victim impact statements for court.
Very good. Very interesting. So when we were talking earlier, I heard that you were surprised by how many victims we annually help. What is that number, and how many victims do you help every year?
So last year, 2024, our office charged 1,250 new cases. And out of that 1,250 cases, 563 of them had victims. So almost half.
Wow. That's amazing. And, as a mayor, I like to tell people that our crime rate is low and this is a very safe city. And both of those statements are true, but I wish I could say we were a crime-free city. We're not. And so having Rachel there to help victims of crimes is a big deal, and it's very important. What types of cases are you usually working on? How long does the case take from start to finish?
Yeah. So the type of cases that we have are assault cases, domestic violence cases, DWI, traffic accidents, hit and runs, damage to property, theft, harassment, violations of protection orders. And those cases from when someone is charged out to when they're sentenced typically lasts about a year, but they can last about 2 to 3 years. So I'm working with victims sometimes for years, and I like to call them my friends because I've spent so much time talking with them.
Well, that's awesome. I'd like to hear more about that, but we are concerned about time. But I just want to comment on one thing. You were awarded the Journey of Hope Award by an organization that assists survivors and victims of domestic and sexual assault. And first of all, congratulations. I think that speaks so highly of the work that you do. It's clear that you're committed. What about your work matters the most to you?
So what matters to me is basically a victim's voice matters, and that's what matters the most to me. And I am so lucky that I have a job where I get to make sure that that happens. So I love my job.
Cool, great. Appreciate everything you had to say and the work that you do.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna pivot over here, and we have Kevin Ruby, who you can tell is a firefighter because of his uniform. But Kevin, how long have you been a firefighter, and why did you become a Minnetonka firefighter?
I joined the department in 1997, and I saw something in the Minnetonka memo that said the department was looking for firefighters, and that there was an information meeting coming up. So I told my buddies, well, you know what, I'm going to go check that out. And the night of the information meeting, it snowed 6 to 8 inches, and I thought, I don't want to go out in this. But I told my friends that I was going, and so I did it. And there was not a lot of people there, but I got a chance to meet, and I was welcomed by some wonderful, friendly, fun people that made me feel a part of something bigger and a part of a family, and that's how I still feel now. So 28 years, and but not all of that was full-time. I quit my full-time job 4 years ago, and took this, and it was the right choice.
Awesome. Great. So, you know, I'm sure the department looked a little different. We didn't have the same firehouse we have now and so forth, but it looked a little different in 1997. You know, how have the number of calls grown from the time you started in 97 to now?
When I started...
I knew this would happen. No problem.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. When I started, we had major medical calls we would go to. We'd go to rescues, we'd go to fires, and we had about 300 to 500 calls a year. Last year, the Minnetonka Fire Department responded to about 5,700 calls.
Wow. So, well, more than 15 times as many.
I can't do the math.
Well,
that's fast.
Yeah, well, that was quick and dirty. So let's talk a little bit about training for the fire department. You know, how has that changed in the time since you started to what it's like now?
Yeah, so with the great number of calls, with us going to all the medicals now, with the volume of calls and the variety of calls, we've really had to increase the training topics that we go on, as well as the training hours. We've increased our training hours by 400%, and our focus is really getting on the variety of training that we do, as well as hours of repetition. We know that details matter in this job, and we want to make sure that we get it right. And so we put a lot of emphasis on doing things over and over again to make sure that we're delivering fast, effective, safe service.
Great. And Kevin, tell us a little bit how you're seeing that training pay off in your day-to-day work as a firefighter.
All the time. Just Tuesday, we had units responded to a medical call, chest pain. They got on scene, and she was moving around, talking, and they were taking vitals and treating her, and she went into cardiac arrest. And they moved so quickly that they got compressions and an airway in, an AED on, and before that ambulance arrived at the hospital, she had a pulse back and was talking. Or a few weeks ago, we had an apartment fire, and 3 crews got on scene, a hose pulled, water on the fire, and that fire was knocked down. It didn't spread out of that laundry room, and not a single resident was displaced. Or we had a house fire, and when the crews rolled up early morning, the fire was blowing out of the garage. The kitchen, everything was fully involved, and those crew got off, packed up, got in that house, and pulled the homeowner out to her safety.
Awesome, awesome. My last question. You know, you've got a lot of years, a lot of experience on our fire department. You know, what keeps you here and what keeps you coming back?
Oh, I've got the best job. I get to go into work every day where I know what I do makes a difference and it matters. I get to be part of something bigger than myself, and I get to do all that with my best friends.
Kevin, thanks so much, although I'm not supposed to thank you each time, but We'll get over it. All right, I'm shifting over here and to chat with Jesse Izquierdo, our Recreation Program Manager. And Jesse, great to see you. And when did you start with the City of Minnetonka?
Yeah, so I started with the City of Minnetonka 8 years ago.
Awesome. Now, we see a video going on. We see a bunch of people in parks, and we see a picture of you on the video screen there. But tell us about Sauna in the Parks. That was a very popular event. Give us a little more background. And I was even mentioned in the Star Tribune article. What is Sauna in the Parks? And let us know what we should know.
Yeah, so working as a rec program manager, we're always trying to gauge and have a sense of the pulse of Minnetonka and its residents, and we're always trying to figure out new recreation activities that promote health and wellness that are going to be for the betterment of people's lives. And I oversee the mountain bike trail at Lone Lake Park, so I spend a lot of time driving up and down Shady Oak Road, and we have Shady Oak Beach there, which is very busy in the summertime, but if you ever pass during the shoulder seasons, not so busy, and it's gated. And I always saw that as an opportunity. One of the things is that cold plunge and sauna has been something that has been growing with our Scandinavian roots in this community and Minnesota in general. And here we go in the wintertime. We have Shady Oak Beach, a park that's not being heavily utilized, and we aerate it. And so with it aerated, when it's 0 degrees outside, we have open water, and it seemed like a no-brainer. And so I convinced some coworkers to do a week-long pilot program last winter. We rented a sauna, ran it for a week, brought in some great staff to help run the program. We had 340 slots, and they all filled in 48 hours. So it seemed like we were maybe onto something, and Shady Oak Beach potentially could be the right spot for it. And so that grew into, luckily we were able to look at actually purchasing our own sauna for the community, setting it up at Shady Oak Beach, and actually creating a program that ran for 7 months out of the year, starting in October. We'll be wrapping up end of April. And we run the program half day on Friday, all day Saturday and Sunday. And if anyone in here has tried to get a spot, it's very difficult to get a spot. We'll be looking at serving around 4,000 people by the end of April.
Wow, that's very cool. So I have to ask, are there any spots available?
I can make something happen.
I don't, for everybody, not for employees or elected officials, for everybody.
Yeah, if you're looking into April, we've got some spots still available, and would love to see people out at the sauna.
All right. Well, then, looking at rec in general, in your job, what types of things do you also see on the horizon? So what ideas do you have that you haven't told us about yet?
Oh, my gosh. We're always, part of what we're doing with recreation is we have so many great amenities, parks, trails in the community that we're always looking for things that people are doing that we can pull and better utilize or reimagine our parks and trails and open spaces to just keep people engaged in our community. People work really hard in Minnetonka, and we want to make sure and provide recreational opportunities to unwind, engage friends and family, and enjoy the outdoors.
Well, I think you kind of answered my last question in terms of what you hope to achieve through your work. But I mean, we've got over 50 parks, and what are some of the parks that you really like and think that are unique in Minnetonka that maybe other cities in our region? This is an unplanned question, but I think you can answer it. What do you think? What are some of the things that you really like about our parks that make our parks distinctive in our region?
Yeah, I would say the amount of looking at our friends over in natural resources is the amount of natural resources and untouched space. As someone who, why Minnetonka matters, I also live in this community, grew up in this community. I live over near Meadow Park and the trail system there. I've spent other time in other communities and lived other places, and there's a reason why I'm choosing to live and work in this community because, not only is it well run, but also it has some of the best park and amenities to access and unwind.
Awesome. Well, now we've heard from 8 different people who work in our community and make a difference. And I want to thank you all. And You know, I'm really proud of our community. So Mike's got a few things, and I'm gonna turn it back to you.
Can you hear me? Oh, let me do this. Can you hear me? No.
You gotta push the button.
It is on green. Okay. There you go. Can you hear me now? Yes. Well, I'm going to divert from our program, is because our mayor and council are here. We have our budget conversations coming up. We're always talking about budgets, and I think we'll have a CIP, or capital improvement request, for a microphone. So we'll. I see the council's already supporting the microphone request. Okay, thank you. Well, again, thank you again, everyone. So thank you, Mayor. My part here is brief here at the end. You've been asking a lot of questions, and so I was told I get to ask one. So I'll hang on to that here in a second. But before I ask my question, I do want to just spend a moment just, again, thanking everyone. I do want to say thank you to our staff. I paused for applause, so thank you to our staff. As I mentioned, I'm the city manager, and so I always beam with pride, and I think the staff that know me, I walk around City Hall, and I get to see the great work that happens every single day, and it's a pleasure serving you as our community, and hopefully you've heard from our staff that take great pride in the work that they do on behalf of our city. They come to work every day, and the personalities that you see up here is genuine, and it's really incredible work. And I also want to pause, and if I turn everyone around to the back room, we have a lot more staff members here. Raise your hand, staff. We have a lot of staff here supporting us today. Minnetonka matters to all of us, and so I do want to say my kind of final thank yous. They're up on your screen. So again, thank you to our food vendors. They're in the back room. Thank you, food vendors, for all your efforts here today. Did you save me some? I hope I didn't get to eat, so hopefully you saved me some. I didn't get those ribs, so hopefully there's some of those back there. I also want to say, again, thank you to our mayor, our council, our facilities, our IT folks that help put all of the production together, our communications team. Thank you, and I know we're not supposed to use names, but I do have to say thank you to Sarissa Falk, one of our hands-on. She does it all, so thank you, Sarissa. And then one last thing before I get to ask my question, and that is every table has a blue ribbon on one of your chairs. So find your if you have a blue ribbon, find a blue ribbon. If you have the blue ribbon, you get to take the centerpiece home with you. All right. So you get the centerpieces? All right. So my last question before we break for the day, and that is, Mayor.
Mike.
We get to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
Why does Minnetonka matter to you?
Well, as you can anticipate, we work together a lot. You know me well. You're not going to get the shortest of answers. In the video, we heard from residents. We heard from council members. We heard from business owners. We heard from a diverse group of people, all who are part of our community, who are doing important work. And I just want to thank everyone for sharing and for their involvement in our community. Now, I'm not going to shock you with this statement, but I love this city. And I was told long before I came mayor that a mayor needs to love their city. And I can say that that's really true. I am an ambassador and a believer. I really love our city, and I'm proud of it. And what's not to love? We've got 28 square miles of some of the most beautiful earth in the country, if not the world. We've got a phenomenal tree canopy. You've heard about that. We have beautiful Lake Minnetonka. It gives us our identity. We have infrastructure that works. When you flush your toilet, it goes down. That's important. Our water is clean. We've got great drinking water. Our police and fire keep our community safe, but they do it with respect. And that's so important because we hear stories where our public safety people don't do it with respect. In Minnetonka, our police and fire respect our residents, and your safety is number one, but doing it the right way is right there with your safety. You know, our city services are excellent, and we help people and businesses when they need it. It's not just about the haves that benefit from these great services. Everyone does. We have such a phenomenal park and trail system, and we work hard to do it better every day. We are committed to excellence. So why does Minnetonka matter to me? All of these things are part of the equation. But look around the room. What matters to me is all of you. We have a great community because we have great people. We have great people who are connected. We have great people who are showed up. We have great people who are passionate about our city. We have great employees who are making a difference. All of you is what matters to me in our great city. So thank you for being here. It's a privilege to serve you. And eat some more food. And one last thing. And I was told we're supposed to have a tight finish. But the Minnetonka memo and the city's annual report is on the table. Please take it with you if you haven't seen it and read it. It's very informative. Have a great day.